This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio has been brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Center, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, rent the boat, own the memories. And J&B Cycle and Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment. Thank you. Always nice to hear folks out there.
Thank you.
I wonder how many people get pissed off at that.
That's not a piss off thing.
We do.
Now, if it went on for a long time, maybe.
I've never heard anyone complain about that.
I don't think
one.
anybody complain about it.
Well, they complain to you about other things.
They don't like "Come on now,"
Come on now.
and they don't like "Hell yeah."
Give me a hell yeah.
Really? They don't like this Steve
don't like
Austin?
Stone Cold.
How about that's a bunch of bullshit?
There's a bunch of bullshit.
I think people do like that one still. Yeah.
It's a very unique one. Imagine that. Jimmy Cunda's got more power than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Think about that.
There's a bunch of bullshit.
That is a bunch of bullshit.
Welcome to the program, Outdoor Journal Radio, the podcast. He is Peter Bowman. That is Dean Taylor, and I'm Angelo Viola. At your service.
Yeah.
On this blistering week of
cool
Snowmobiling.
winter. Yeah.
Cool. Boy, there's an understatement.
No kidding. Ange and I were just discussing how both of our hands froze at different times and they're doing different stuff.
Unbelievable.
My God.
I don't remember ever being this cold. This is crazy.
It's pretty good. It's that wind, right? It's the nasty wind that kills you.
It's the wind.
You dead calm, it's beautiful out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's 20 below, it's still nice. But
wonderful program. Joining us in a few moments. We're not going to keep him in the wings in the green room. Minister Mike Harris Jr.
I love it.
will be joining us, the Minister of Natural Resources and other things.
I'm looking forward to this. Mike's great. He's
He's a refreshing.
He's our kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go there, though, by the way, he for those of you who may not know, he is the son of the former Premier of Ontario, Mike Harris, who was legendary. I say was. He's still alive and make him sound like it's not a eulogy.
Legendary in his term. How's that?
Term. Very good. And now son is following in dad's footsteps, which is kind of cool.
Yes, indeed.
Fishing Canada store, it's there. If you want to buy yourself some goodies, some swag.
Still there.
Swag.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Swag. All good things swag to be found at fishingcanada.com or shop.fishingcanada.com.
Yes.
Season 40, I had an opportunity to catch the show this weekend.
How did you, no kidding, how did you remember that?
I was sitting around, it's funny you say that, I was playing with my furnace thermostat.
That's a funny thing to be playing with on a Saturday morning.
And like a few minutes before 8 o'clock, I had one of those, those premonitions, like, those little chills down my back.
I bet you did, actually. As soon as you saw that name come up, Peter Bowman, on what the hell does he want on a weekend?
And I thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome,
that was
my
very
friend.
good.
You're
No, it was good. Recorded it. Wonderful episode. And I went on my business.
Yeah.
So
back to the thermostat,
for those of you, yeah, exactly. For those of you who aren't aware of it, the 40th season is currently airing on Global Television Network, coast to coast to coast, as well as on the Sportsman's Channel here in Canada and WFN, the World Fishing Network, south of the border.
Correct.
Unless there's tariffs on, I'm not even sure, but shouldn't be.
They better not be tariffing our show, are they?
Turfing.
And Monday release of YouTube as well. Each of these shows does the cycle of
YouTube. But it's our 40th season of broadcast. We're very proud of that. And we would like you to share it with us by going in and checking it out.
Our YouTube numbers are doing pretty good for these two shows. The first two that have aired, now the third one is gone, so it's just going to be picking up now too. So, they're doing quite well.
I'm curious to see, as our numbers grow on YouTube, do our television numbers drop?
Well, I'd really be curious to see that.
That's what happened on the podcast.
Exactly.
When we brought it to YouTube, all the audio people moved over.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
You're not necessarily growing, you're just changing the audience. So
yeah,
we will see. Listener feedback, Mr. Bowman. What do we have?
In response to our question to the audience whether they would like to see other countries featured on the Fishing Canada show, just in case we want to do a little U.S. and Mexico, something like that.
Which I wouldn't mind right about now.
Right about
especially
now,
Mexico.
I think Costa Rica would be a nice one for rooster fish right now. Top water with some yosuri stuff.
I'd take Mexico too, though, for large.
I'd love to go to Mexico right now for El Salto. Hey, apparently it's, the cartel is intervening right now. A guy was trying to book a trip. A guide we worked with last year, and he said he can't get to El Salto right now because the cartel is. There's some problems down there. So.
Well, I told you our good friend Leo had a problem with that.
Yeah. Anyways, at the Great Potato Kitty 8196 via YouTube.
Where do you get that? Potato Kitty.
The Great Potato
Kitty.
Kitty.
Potato Kitty.
And I think I just said titty. Potato Kitty 8196 on YouTube. Keep fishing Canada, in my opinion. Keep fishing in Canada, in my opinion. It's the name of the show. There's enough others fishing down south and making content. 51st state threats. So there's one.
So he's saying that there's other options for out of Canada fishing experiences. Keep ours here. In the country, right?
There are endless options. You could send out a dozen teams with boats, and they'd never see half of the lakes in Ontario and Quebec.
Oh,
that's true.
We could fish for sure, more than a dozen. You never. 400,000 lakes, rivers, and streams if you do an account.
That's Ontario.
That's Ontario.
Yeah,
and
Quebec's probably
equal
many
amount
or more.
Yeah,
because it's a bigger province, as geographically speaking. So wow. Okay, Canada.
And all the more reason, by the way, a great question or answer or whatever point. But all the more reason, we just mentioned 400,000 lakes, rivers, and streams in our jurisdiction. All the more reason why we have to be vigilant, people. Grass carp Conservation Corner brought to you by the good folks at the Invasive Species Center. Grass carp. That's all I need to say. Grass carp.
2 words.
Grass
carp. 2 words for you.
What is it backwards?
Huh?
Park.
Parak.
Srag.
No, Parak.
Park. Huh?
Parak. Backwards. P-R.
Prac. What did I say?
Park.
Wow.
Close. Kind of dyslexic.
Go park your crack or whatever.
Park your carp in your crack.
Grass carp.
Interesting story, and I'll interject here with this because I just saw it on my interweb before this thing.
Yes.
In the U.S., they have a 2-day bow fishing tournament. First prize is like $30,000. It's big.
What?
It's really big. $100,000 in prizes, and it includes for the fish species. So it's a single biggest fish that they bring in on an hourly basis. And at the end of the tournament, it's a top 20, your 20 biggest dead bow-fished fish, right? You can only use a bow.
Okay, but like what kind of species are we talking?
We are talking the buffalo, common carp, grass carp, which we're talking about today, right. Silver carp, another one of the invasives, big head carp, another one of the invasives, long-nosed gar, and suckers. They have a 2-day, 2 different lakes.
Total annihilation.
In the mid-U.S.
I don't know why they're putting the native species in there, like the gar and the buffalo.
Yeah,
the gar and the buffalo, and even the
category.
suckers, which are food fish for some, for some species, and that. So I don't know. It's obviously got to be driven by the DNR or whatever. I'm assuming.
And where is this taking place?
This is in Missouri and Arkansas.
Missouri
and Arkansas.
That sounds about
right in the middle of the state.
That sounds about right.
You know what I mean?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So they got a big sponsor. I won't say the name, but they got a big sponsor behind it too. So it's a big deal down there. They got all these pictures.
Are you insinuating perhaps that because you brought it up during the conservation corner? Mm-hmm. Are you insinuating that perhaps that's an alternative?
No. Well, I'll tell you what. If we could have a grass carp bow fishing event, I'm all for that one.
Okay.
But, you're going to get collateral damage. They're going to say, I thought it was a grass carp. Yeah. Well, it's a largemouth, a 3-pound largemouth, buddy. Shit, I'm sorry.
Not that everybody who would go bow hunting for fish is a redneck the way you're making
Exactly.
him sound.
Not everybody. No.
But
No.
there's a pretty
It could
good
happen.
chance.
It's a stray arrow. They're not all William Tells out there. Okay. Robin Hoods.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Anyways, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now,
The
are they
pictures,
doing
and they're
it?
big. The grass carp they're holding the pictures,
Huge.
big ones. Like
So
big.
are you thinking this is government
This
driven?
is their way. Oh, it has to be. It's too big. It's a big event. You know what I mean? It's
Well, you
a
said
huge
it's got a
double
sugar
two-state.
daddy, so maybe it's a sugar
It's
daddy
good.
that's doing it.
But the sugar daddy would have they would not get involved with something without, of this magnitude, without the DNR, the government being involved too. And it's a way of controlling these, especially the silvers. You can't weigh in. I don't know how you can't weigh in a silver carp that jumps in your boat. You have to shoot it with a bow and arrow. You can't, you know what I mean?
So, he jumps in the boat and stick it
know.
with a bow.
I know,
Or an
you
arrow.
gotta-
I mean, I could do that.
Exactly, but anyways, it's a big event, and but it is one way of watching the invasive carp, the 3 of the 4 invasives.
In the meantime, if you're not inclined to do that, you can go to the Invasive Species Center website, which is,
I got to look, invasivespecies.ca?
there you go.
Invasivecarp.ca.
Invasivecarp.ca.
There you go.
Invasivecarp.ca.
And arm yourself with the knowledge of grass carp, what they're doing, where they are, and more importantly, what they look like, so that, if you were in the middle of a bow hunting tournament
Sharpening your arrows.
and saw one, you could somehow. In the news, brought to you by J&B Cycle and Marine.
Yeah, baby. Good one.
It says here that it could be the world's largest Princecraft Mercury dealer, possibly.
There you go.
Established in 1970, Rob and the good folks at J&B Cycle and Marine will outfit you completely when it comes to boats, motors, trailers, and accessories and paraphernalia as such. They also are one of the largest snowmobile dealers in the North Country. And of course, that's right
This
up.
year would be a dandy, wouldn't it?
Oh
Be
my
selling
God.
out.
They've been waiting for this. The snowmobilers have been waiting
have.
for this for so long.
Even in the North Country, they've been waiting for this, for sure. You know what I mean? Because usually we always expect it to be full of snow and all. And a lot of times they don't have good snow, even in the north. So
My neighbor has disappeared. I'm almost, to the point where I might call in and put a missing persons bulletin out. He's had 2 snowmobiles sitting in between our houses for the last decade that haven't moved, and they're gone. He's gone. Like there's no evidence that he ever lived there.
I love it.
He's just out in the snow taking advantage, having at it.
It is fun. I have to say, snowmobiling is fun.
Oh, it's a
Like we used to
blast.
do it as kids, and
It's
it
a
was just
blast.
you got home from school. The coldest nights, it was
Didn't
pure
matter.
black. Nights out and just ripping. We used to go to the Napanee Fairgrounds, and they had a racetrack there, a horse racetrack. We used to rip around that sucker. Oh my God, I used to have fun on that thing. So, so it is a fun activity, that's for sure. So. Anyway.
In the news, brought to you by J&B Cycle. Before we go, because we got to go to the minister's waiting for us. He's going to be pissed.
We can go over this quick, but it is important. This one, right?
In the news,
Speaking of ministers,
speaking of ministers, we should probably, if we remember, of course we won't remember, should ask Minister Harris about this one, that they're announcing now that there could be changes, will be changes to small vessel regulations to improve boating safety and modernize Canada's pleasure craft licensing system. Just when you thought that everything was fine and they were going to leave stuff alone.
yeah, we finally got a break from the government to give
There
us
you
a
go.
free boat license. That's awesome. Thank you very much. But
The regulatory changes apparently took effect on December 31st of 2025. So not that long ago. I was not aware of it. You was not aware of it. Nobody was aware of
well,
it.
we caught it. We caught it here.
We caught it.
Yeah.
But
Nobody
you and
told
I
us,
didn't catch it,
yeah.
did we?
I did.
Oh, you
Pete-
caught it.
Yeah, Pete caught it and sent it over.
Like I said, good thing, we're vigilant and we keep our eyes open.
It's just like recording that show on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. Pleasure craft license, or PCL, is required for recreational vessels with 1 or more motors totaling 10 horsepower or 7.5 kilowatts or more. New and renewed pleasure craft licenses are now valid for 5 years. And this is the part that gets sticky because we've had ours since the inception,
God,
and they
forever.
were good forever. There was never any discussion that they would have to be renewed or reapplied. Well, guess what? Now, apparently, it's every 5 years.
Ours will be phased out now as well.
But
right?
wait, there's more. A $24 service fee will now be applied.
Oh, so it's not free anymore is what you're
No,
saying.
so it's not free, and it's not for life.
Yeah,
So we used to get it free
every 5
for
years.
life.
Yeah.
Now it's 5 years and $25.
I can see where this is going.
You see where it's going?
I'll tell you, because you know where this one, I experienced this one before, was in the electrical world. Your electrical license was the same thing, except for it was free, but you had to renew it every 5 years. But just had to renew it right now. Now it costs you like $200 a year or whatever to keep this, whatever it is. They've found a way to do that. So you're going to see this being from every 5 years. They're going to bring this. Oh, well, maybe we should renew it every year or 3 years, like your fishing
Listen,
license, whatever, just to get more money.
I will add this to the conversation, though. Seeing some of the boaters out there,
True enough. True
it might
enough.
not be that bad of an idea. No,
It'd be a good idea to test them. Let's
This should
test
be a
every.
test.
There's a mandatory.
Should-
Every
a
now and then,
field
pull them
test.
over and just do a little field test. Okay, today we're going on Rice Lake, and don't tell anybody. Okay, hey, you and you. You got your license? Good. Okay, let's do a little test here.
You'd lose a lot of boaters.
Oh my God, would you
lot of
ever?
voters.
Might be a little safer world out there too, though.
Speaking of testing, I'm going to have to go in for my driver's license test pretty soon. Eh?
Really? Oh, was it? Oh no.
Age, it's an age thing. Yeah, so will you
Oh
eventually.
yeah.
I'm kind of.
Well,
I'm
let
kind of
me
on pins and needles on
let
that
me
one.
let me just
I've
give you
developed
one,
a lot
one little
of
bit.
bad habits.
I was going to say one word of advice: don't drive like you do with me. Okay, with that guy, take it a little easy. Oh God, oh boy.
I'm going to go with my Zed.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna take my
should.
Zed
Oh
in.
God, he'd
That'd be
love
the
that. I
best.
bet you the guy. If
Wow,
it's
it would get his mind off of everything
yeah,
else, right?
Yeah,
He'd just be
he'd love
holding on.
that. He'd be loving that. And there was another thing here, and this going back to the boater's license, starting December 1st, 2027, wind-powered pleasure craft longer than 6 meters will also be required to hold a license.
Interesting.
So sailboats, I'm assuming that's what that means, wind-powered, longer than 6 meters will hold a license. So they don't need a license now because
18
they,
footers.
if they had a
small
motor,
sail.
if
That's
they had
small.
a little motor of less than 10 horse, they're okay. A 9.9
which
would
they
be
all
okay.
are.
Yeah.
Right,
So
they're
they won't
9.9s.
need it. Yes, but now they're going to need a license. So
Is that good or bad?
they might as well. Good.
Yeah. Wow.
Friggin' right, it's good.
Well, you
think
got a problem with
they
sailors?
own the road. Yeah, I got a problem with
my
sailors.
God.
Friggin'
Did you see the look on
Reno
your face?
Viola.
Ugh.
Remember when he went freaking
Oh,
sailor mode? All of a sudden, we said, "What the hell is going on here?" No, because I get that they have they have a harder vessel to move out of the way or whatever. But if I'm on a trolling pattern, he's way out there, and there's about 4 or 5 of us in a trolling pattern, and he just says, "Piss on that." I'm not going to tack at all, but he could just do a little tack like that. Come on, buddy, work with us, not against us. That's what WG
So what you're
Smith used to say.
saying-
Work
so
with
what-
us, not against us, Peter.
What did this you are saying? It's
They can
easier
be-
for him to
No.
move than you.
No.
Because you're
We don't-
trolling.
No, we
God
don't
forbid.
always have to move.
Oh.
Why do we always have to move?
Oh.
Always.
Oh. So
You
what
don't
are you
even
gonna,
have a freaking license.
so what are you going
Piss
to draw?
off.
You're going to draw
Kiss
to
my
see
heart.
whose turn it is to move? Oh, buddy, you lose. You're going to have to
He
move.
wins because he's got a bigger boat.
Oh.
But I got a faster boat. Piss on him. I'll somehow clip him. I could do something. I got some kind of damage. I'll put the power pole through
Look
him or
at the
something.
minister coming on.
He's the minister of another whole
you're-
division. He doesn't give a shit about this.
Oh, my God. Anyways, if you want that whole story, it's available. Is it, Dean, on fishingcanada.com?
Sure is.
Is that the deal?
Yeah, it'll be on there.
Did you compile all this wonderful information?
This is Peter Bowman.
Oh, Peter Bowen.
Yep.
That's why I'm so adamant on this. So getting all worked up here. So now we're going to start talking about fishing laws and that. Now watch me go.
Tyler Buford via email.
Buford T. Pusser. Who was that? Who was that? Buford T. Pusser.
I was on.
Buford.
Oh, I know this one.
Is it like the Daisy Duke brothers?
Daisy
and that?
Duke
Was it-
brother guys. That whole show.
Dukes of
yeah.
Hazzard?
Yeah,
Was
yeah, yeah.
It's a great name. Great
Tyler
name.
Buford via email. He submitted this at info at fishingcanada.com. Is that worth anything, Dean? Or is,
No, these are from the archives. When we don't have the YouTube questions coming in, I go back and pull these old ones.
Oh, this might be dated.
It might be dated, yeah, but I thought it was topical.
I'm curious if you've ever come across situations where conservation officers, and we'll be talking to the conservation officer chief pretty soon.
That's right, the big boss.
Mike Harris. Use discretion in unusual circumstances. Most regulations obviously exist for good reasons, but there are times when applying them strictly feels a bit counterintuitive. Like if they're applying them like towards me, for example, I would think that they're counterintuitive. But if they apply them against somebody else, it'd be okay. Right?
Jesus.
Like being required to release a fish that's already dead. Oh,
I love that.
Because
Love that.
it's just outside the slot limit. Have you ever seen exceptions made in cases like that? No, I haven't seen that, but it is something that we've discussed here on several occasions. The fish is dead.
It's not dead yet.
The fish is dead. It is not going to survive. It's dead.
Right.
By throwing it away because it's outside of your daily possession limit, it's out of season, whatever the reasons are, putting it back in the water seems a little bit ridiculous because we're thinking of waste. But anything that goes back in the water is food.
Right? It certainly could be, yeah, for sure.
In terms of fish, any fish that goes back in the water is going to be consumed by all sorts of things. Parts of it will eventually be consumed by its own kin.
Yeah, the kinfolk.
So they don't go to waste. So if we think in terms of that, I think we'll be at peace with this part of the regulations.
Right.
Because if you put it back in the lake, it's not wasting it. What's wasting it is if it goes in your freezer and you find it 14 months later covered with frost and you throw it out. That is a waste.
Right.
So,
but it is a kind of a weird law though, isn't it? I mean, it's not weird.
No,
it has to be done.
No, it's not. If you think of it in terms of that, it's not. It's not a waste.
Okay, now.
It's not a waste.
Listen to me now and talk to me later. Okay? But I take that fish 3 days later, the season just opened. Okay? Now it's a legal fish. Because 3 days before it was out of season, so I got to throw him back. He died, whatever. Keep that fish now. He died still, but now I can keep him, right?
If it's within season,
right? Right. Bear with me here.
I don't like where you're going.
Fillet that fish, and I throw his carcass into the water. That's illegal. So if you throw a full fish in the water, it's not illegal. But if I throw a carcass of the fish,
that's true too. That one, I have no argument for that one. I have no argument for that
weird shit
one.
going on there, boy.
Yeah, it makes a good point because it's illegal according to M&R.
That's right.
It's illegal for you to clean a fish and dispose of the remains in the lake.
That's right.
You have to take it inland a certain distance. I'm not
sure about that.
If I
but
recall.
It's garbage. I know the inland is the
300
distance
yards.
is the bait thing or whatever, but I don't know about the
300
carcass.
yards or something has to be. Anyways, regardless, you cannot throw the carcass and or remains
Guts, yeah.
into the lake. However, if you inadvertently, accidentally kill a fish that is illegal, meaning out of season, size limits, daily possession limits, etc., you have to put that dead fish back in the water.
There you go.
Wow.
So we'll save that one because Mike, we don't want to give Mike too much today, but we'll save that one maybe for the next.
Could we mark that down, Dean? Because I think
we're not prepped for it yet, but
that is significant.
That's a good one.
We can't spring that on them today.
No.
We have other things that we're
going to
discussing.
spring on them.
That's right.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Sail. Sail is proudly Canadian and stocked with over 100 Canadian brands you know and love.
From rods and reels to sonars to kayaks and every last lure you've seen on the Fishing Canada show, Sail has all the gear to get you on the water.
Drop into one of 12 stores across Ontario and Quebec and talk to the real fishing specialists, or gear up online anytime at sail.ca.
Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures.
This episode is brought to you by Angler's Leaderboard and its Spot Mapper feature. Spot Mapper connects your catch data to your spots, allowing you to view your catch history. With Spot Mapper, your locations stay completely private. Only you can access them, so your favorite spots stay your secret. Learn more at anglersleaderboard.com. All right, on to our guest. As I mentioned at the top of the program, joining us now is Mike Harris Jr., Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, right?
They started throwing that away, though.
So what we've done is we've actually sort of carved the forestry out a little bit, because it is a pretty big portfolio all on its own.
No kidding.
So the way that it's set up is I have an associate minister of forestry. So Kevin Holland from Thunder Bay, Atikokan, great MPP, great minister, does a lot of great work for the province, and he's freezing cold up there in Thunder Bay.
Kevin Holland, he's a fighter too, isn't he? Isn't that a fighter name? He's in the UFC too. That guy's good, man.
We've all done something pre-politics, right?
By the way, it just dawned on me, if we weren't of our advanced age that we were, we would have remembered that we probably asked you that same question last time.
Well, I started to cut in on you, because I did sort of remember that Mike said, I think we're getting rid of that if we can.
Guys, getting old's tough.
You got that right.
Not that you would know anything about that.
I'll be 40. I'll be 41 next month.
Oh, God forbid. Oh, my God.
I've got shoes older than you, okay?
But I've now, here behind me, I've got 5 kids, though. So
nice.
Oh, dude, you're up there in mental age, that's for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
As I was supposed to mention at the intro, you were appointed in 2025 as the Minister of Natural Resources. So newly minted. Your writing is Kitchener-Conestoga. I'll get it right. If I say it enough times,
I
it'll
love
work out
that,
for
by
me.
the way. Every time I've heard that name of that town, city, whatever it is, Conestoga, I love it. It just sounds so cool.
Constantinople. That's my
Thayendanegea, but the Thayendanegea over in to the east, Angelo.
What do I call it?
He's got 100 different pronunciations of that every time.
It's a bit of a tricky one, that's for sure.
He is the son of former Premier Mike Harris, of course, and
the racing Talladega Nights or whatever. That's the one you say it all the time.
Talladega, Alabama, gentlemen.
Yeah, there it is.
Welcome to the show again.
Quite the intro.
Now that we've screwed all that up. A couple of reasons you're here. First of all, as we mentioned last time, we want to make sure that we stay in touch. One of the things that I think ministries like yours do that's wrong is forget to tell people what good you do. And that's where usually the negative comments come from. It's when people say, well, yeah, but what are they doing? Because for some reason, ministries just don't want to put a spotlight on themselves. And I applaud that, right? That's not what you're there for. However, I think in some cases, people just need to feel good about what you're doing. You know,
that's a good point.
And all you guys do is good. I mean, aside, anybody listening to this that is a poacher that just got busted, obviously is going to disagree with this. But for the rest of us, everything you do is good. You know, you manage our wildlife and fisheries to the point 100%. Where we can go out and catch fish at will, pretty much in any jurisdiction. And that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for good sound management.
Yeah.
So you guys bring up a good point. I think one of the things that I've done since we chatted last, I think that was kind of back in the early summer, late spring, early summer. I've actually kind of been on tour around the province over the summer, got to all corners. We were up in Kenora, Red Lake, Sudbury, North Bay, of course. We were out in Ottawa, Peterborough area. Probably should have stopped in to see you guys.
I was just about to say.
Down in Windsor, Chatham area, Wheatley. So we've really been all over the province talking about the good stuff, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry.
Yes.
Because it is still part of the ministry. The good stuff that we're doing, the investments that we're making, the sound decisions that we're putting in place when it comes to conservation, and to your point of making sure that you can go out to just about any lake, river, water body in the province and catch fish. So we've been out there, we've been meeting with staff, we've been meeting with residents, folks in the community, angling associations, hunters, you name it, we've talked to them over the summer, and then of course through the winter as well. And I think we've gotten a positive response. I think people are very happy to see that the ministry is out there. We're really encouraging also our local offices, like our district offices and regional offices, to really get out and participate in community events and be visible. And, the same thing with conservation officers as well, right? Often the only time you're going to interact with a conservation officer is when you're out on the lake or out in the bush. Right. We want to see them out in the community and at the barbecue down at the boat launch or, whatever it is. Right. Yeah. So everybody's visible. You see them, you recognize them, the folks in your community, and especially in northern communities, the MNR is often your only kind of touch point with government. That's right. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So we've got to be out there doing the good work.
And it's, to Angela's point, when you said there, buddy, it's always the negative that are the loudest, though. You just don't, no matter what aspect of life you look at, no matter, we're talking about our phones, we're talking about this statue, talking about Mike's office, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody will pick the negative out before they'll ever put the positive out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. So
I can tell you firsthand that it's usually sort of 10% on each side that you're going to get, are the frequent flyers, if you will, or the folks that are going to kind of raise their voice the loudest, and that silent majority just kind of wants to plug along in the middle and get things done.
That's true.
I guess, when you think about it, is a conservation officer really that much different than local constabulary or the OPP or, whatever? For some bizarre reason, when it comes to conservation, we look at it different, right? He's a law enforcement officer, right? There to enforce the law. And if you're not breaking the law, your relationship should be really good. If anything, it should be better than good, because that person is there to keep you safe. And in the case of conservation officers, they're there to make sure that you can take your family fishing,
of course,
on a regular basis, because we'll have plenty of stock in the lakes. So when you think of it in that way, there should not be any, because and now I'm going back to a younger part of my life when I used to go into Algonquin Park a lot.
I thought you were going into the city there and talking shops.
And the same group would go in 2 or 3 times a year, and inadvertently we would always have a conservation officer or two come in and check on us, right? Yeah. And I remember most of the group was pissed off, right? They're not happy with the fact that, and even back then I used to say, guys, what are you complaining about? Yeah. Thank God that they've got somebody checking on us, because we're not responsible enough to make sure that we can stay safe and get the heck back out of here. This was after probably drinking a pint of whiskey or two out there. Yeah. And everybody's kind of, in a daze. And I said, thank God they come and check on us. Think about it. Yeah. If something happened out here, we'd be screwed.
Well, right? Ange, that's a good point, right? Like it's not just about, hey, are you following the fishing regulations?
Right. Exactly.
It's about health and safety too. And who knows, maybe you do have an issue, or maybe something's happened and you're out of cell range, or you don't have a sat phone or something with you. That could be your only connection. That might be the only person you see. Yeah. Right. While you're out there for, a week out camping in the park.
And it was always the only person.
And you got to remember too, they're not only trained in health and safety as well, but these guys and girls now, they're, as our audience is listening here, they're anglers and they're hunters mostly, right?
Big time.
Our COs are all anglers. They're us. They're the same people as we are. Like their personalities. Yeah, they got to wear the badge and they got to be kind of strict by the rule of. They are just down to earth, great guys and girls that are out there in the field. They don't listen to all the bullshit that everybody gives them, but they're really good people down. And you know what? At the end of the day, our policy is always education first.
And it's, we want to educate you about the rules. We want to educate you about safety. We don't want to just be out there handing out fines and trying to fill a quota or anything like that. We don't do that. So,
right.
It's always education, leniency. But there are some things that are zero tolerance, like drinking and boating and different things like that that are very important. We work in tandem with the OPP to deal with a lot of those situations. But listen, our COs do incredible work across the province in protecting our resources, and not only that, but they often assist, especially in northern regions, with police investigations and different things along those lines as well. So they do an incredible job. I'm a huge supporter of everything they do.
I have one complaint and one complaint only about them. There aren't enough of them.
I would agree.
There aren't enough of them.
That was one of my questions to Mike, is there a chance of upping the number of COs in Ontario, like all around Ontario, but especially in southern Ontario now? We just don't see any of them. And with all this stuff that's going on in these rivers and everything now that is getting just annihilated, we need some kind of power down here to stop this stuff.
So you'll be happy to know that we have gone on a bit of a hiring blitz over the last couple of years.
Nice.
I think we're up to about 200 and change conservation officers at this point. We've added a few dozen over the last little while, which is good. And there was a new class that just graduated a few months ago, actually. So they're going to be out and about patrolling the beautiful lakes and rivers and forests of Ontario over the next little while. And we certainly look from a deployment perspective, obviously at underserved areas, and especially up north being a challenge because of the geography. It's quite vast, of course, but we're starting to see a lot more kind of issues, like you'd said, like on the Ganaraska, for example. I think that's been one that's come up quite a bit over the last little while, and just making sure that we also have the resources sort of deployed as equitably as possible across the province is extremely important, and being able to respond to situations not only as they arise, but I think one of the interesting parts about what our COs do is often they're able to kind of get a pulse on things before they start to bubble over.
Right.
So being able to have them out and being able to kind of police some areas and communities before things get out of hand is also extremely important. But you need that horsepower to be able to do it, right? So
yeah, would the MNR be able to, let's just say September-ish, down in the southern Ontario, those rivers around the GTA and that, would they be able to pull in other COs from other areas for that 1 month? And you know what
the big challenge is, though, is hunting up north is all kicking off around that.
Right.
So it's you're spreading an already thin force even thinner.
Gotcha.
I think the maybe the one benefit to it is at least it is down south. It's pretty concentrated in some specific areas, so you are able to kind of identify that and say, hey, we've got to dedicate some more resources to, like the Ganny, or it could be the Humber, could be the Credit, could be anywhere else.
All these creeks,
exactly. So it's certainly something that's on our radar, and I think just as we start bolstering more officers, just we'll be able to do that organically, right?
Can town cops get involved in that too, like Port Hope Police and the Ganny sort of thing?
Not as it sits, and if we wanted to go way into the weeds on this, we could, but there's sort of the Policing Act. And then there's a Fisheries Act. So they're kind of two separate things. And actually, here's where it does get kind of interesting, where you're talking about how conservation officers often fulfill a lot of the same duties as the local constables or local police force. But it actually doesn't work the other way around. There's actually some extra powers that conservation officers have to enforce those fish and conservation acts that police officers actually don't have. So it's one of those sort of long-standing things that's kind of interesting. I think if there's a public safety aspect to it, yes, the police can get involved.
Yep.
But they can't lay Fisheries Act charges or things of those natures. So that's where the conservation officers are really kind of at the forefront of it.
Yeah. Oh, good to know.
And if you really want to throw an extra loop in it, then there's the Department of Fisheries and Oceans federally.
Right.
And on boundary waters like the Great Lakes, they do have some skin in the game as well. So
right. I don't think I've ever seen them on the Great Lakes.
No,
obviously down east we see them all the time.
We haven't,
but not in the Great Lakes. I think one of the problems, and I don't want to make this about conservation officers. I think one of the problems with conservation officers as I said before, is we don't have enough of them, which means they don't get the exposure that regular police force does. Because in normal day-to-day activities, police officers are seen as a valuable asset to the community, to people who are not breaking the law, as I said before. And they see them all the time. You can't go a day without seeing 3 or 4 police officers somewhere in your life, right? But conservation officers, not so much. Hell, there's people, I know people in my circle of friends that have never met a conservation officer. Think about that. And they're my age group. And they've never met a conservation, other than if they go to a sports show or someplace where you guys are set up. But they've never met one in the
crazy,
field.
Eh?
But think how bizarre that is.
Well, and I think that just goes to show, though, like we have such a big province, right? And unless, like you said, you're seeking one out, often they're out in the bush or they're out on the lakes and rivers, and they can't be everywhere. It is certainly a challenge from that perspective, but sort of what I was saying earlier is that we do really encourage our M&R staff across the board to be able to get out to those community events and even participate and speak and almost, I hate to say it, but like humanize the ministry, right?
Here.
That's kind of, that's kind of sort of, what we're getting at here is that it's, we want to be out telling the good stories and celebrating the good things and showing off all the amazing, incredible opportunities, angling recreationally, all the different things that we have here in Ontario. So who better to do it than our folks at the Ministry of Natural Resources?
For sure. There's one more point on this. When Andrew, you were saying some of these people have never even seen them. Then there's the opposite end. This guy right here, remember the story I told you at Buck Lake? I went in a Buck Lake Lodge, a fly-in lodge last summer.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Out in the middle of nowhere. You have to fly in there. I'm putting along on my little tenor out there, trolling away, and all of a sudden I see this yellow plane fly over my head, and I said, holy shit, I think that's the M&R. Right in beside me, pulled right up. Hey, sir, how you doing? I says, g'day, guys. I got pulled over by the M&R.
And they
Buck
were doing
Lake.
what?
They were checking all the fishermen and boats. I think they had a dozen lakes at least that they were hitting that day. And there was all with fishing lodges. So there's American and Canadian guests, a lot of American guests, and they're checking the licenses and they're checking the limits and all that kind of stuff, and length and all that.
Good for them.
Yeah, I didn't have any fish, and I had just been exempt from my fishing license. I said, boys, here's my driver's license, because I don't need a fishing license. And they started laughing. They were, again, great guys. They were great guys.
They always are.
Yeah.
They always are.
But that was in the middle of nowhere, so you can run, but you can't hide.
I want to tell you about something cool that we're doing, and you guys may not know this, but we actually have drone technology available to us now.
Perfect.
And there's 2 really neat aspects, not only from an enforcement standpoint, but from a safety standpoint. I think we can all kind of understand how the enforcement piece works, right? There's a camera on the drone. You've got the drone pilot. The drone can do a lot of those functions. Like you said, Pete, when you're, cruising over a dozen lakes in a day, rather than having to take the plane, you're able to identify, hey, you know what? There's no one on Lake X, Y, Z today. We can focus on the other ones. And then you can send folks in by plane or boat. Yeah. So you're being more efficient with your time.
Yeah.
But what was really cool, I got a demonstration this summer up in Sudbury, was the safety aspect. So if you're trapped or something's happening, or think of what happened in Champlain Park back last year with that storm, where it knocked down all those trees and we had campers trapped, and there were folks with broken legs and trapped in their cars, and we just couldn't get in to get them out. So one of the neat things with these drones is they actually have a payload capacity. So we can go in and we can drop first aid supplies. We can drop, let's say like a small overnight kit with a blanket and some different things like that to try and keep you warm.
Wow.
A radio, something as simple as a radio or a sat phone or something like that. So we're able to actually get in contact with you. So it's pretty cool to see it firsthand and how it works. And
that's awesome.
These drones are incredible, right? They can read the registration on your boat from about 4 kilometers away.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Just as a connection to this,
I wonder if you're thinking what I'm thinking.
We were on a shoot several years ago, and
Kashawakamak by any chance with the kids?
With the kids, yes.
I know, as soon as he said that.
And so we were planning the next day. This is a camp that's got the main lake, and then they've got a couple of outpost lakes that you can go in for the day, and they've got a boat sitting there with a motor, and one of those deals, right?
Yeah.
So I can't remember all of the details, but we were with the owner, and we were just putting the drone up, I think, at camp, one of our drones at camp. And he says, "Oh, wow." He says, "How far will that thing go?" I said, "Whatever it was, I don't remember." And he says, "Geez, you know what? Can we send it over to the lake you guys are going into tomorrow?" Well, we said, "Yeah, well, where is it?" And so we got and it was just over the treetops, right, on the other side. And so we're flying this drone over this lake, and all of a sudden he says, "What the? Those guys are back again." So he's got a boat there and every once in a while somebody goes in and steals his boats, right? Or his motors. And we just caught them as they were pushing offshore with his boat. And so with the pilot, we told him just swarm them, just surround them. And boy, the day ever could boosh out of there.
Quick.
They
Couldn't
thought,
get out of there fast enough.
they dropped the boat, they ran.
Wow. What timing? Could you imagine though, like real time like that?
No kidding.
Well, that's what we said.
Yeah.
We said, could you imagine what they were thinking? All of a sudden, they're in the middle of nowhere stealing stuff and out of the skies as soon as they get their
They'll
stuff.
never do that again. I'll bet you. They'll find another lake for that.
We said the only thing we were missing is a loudspeaker on the drone that would have said, "Do not move. Put your hands in the air."
Well, we'll have to get you hooked up with our M&R guys, because the M&R one does have a
Perfect.
on it
Oh
as
my
well, so.
God. That'd be
Perfect. When are they being deployed?
So they're already in service.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, already in service. I probably shouldn't tell you too much about them because they are an investigative tool. But
Nobody
idea.
listens. Nobody listens.
Great
Don't worry
idea,
about
buddy. That's good on the M&R for that one.
So we have a couple of things now. Now let's get into what we brought you on the show for. We had an occasion the last time you were on the program to ask you about a quirky little regulation with the M&R that we were shocked when we found out about it. I mean, it was just and it was about the definition of a treble hook. And I purposely set you up, if I recall.
you did. You
All
did.
right.
On
I
the
said,
spot.
I
Yeah.
said, "Mike, what do you think would be the definition of a treble hook?" Right? And you said what 110% of the population would have said, right? And that is a hook with 3 prongs on it. That's why they call it treble. Right. That would be it. And then I laid it on you that, in fact, in the M&R's definition of treble hook, it's not. So we asked you to look into it, and did you?
We did. So there's a few kind of interesting pieces that sort of fall in around this. So there's a couple of different definitions of, I guess you could say, sort of your traditional treble hook, like we had discussed. But I think what makes it a little bit more clear in the regulations is when we're talking about single point hooks.
Right.
So if you look at the way that the rules and regs are kind of laid out as far as what you can use in certain lakes and rivers, water bodies, fisheries, management zones, however you want to look at it. I'm just pulling up a couple notes here because we've actually got a couple things. So there's a few waterways where you can only use artificial lures and one single pointed barbless hook.
And what is the definition of one single pointed barbless hook?
Yeah, so think of your traditional, let's just say, circle hook would be, a single pointed hook,
Okay.
or your traditional bait hook or something
Okay.
along those lines, right?
Okay.
And then there's the barbless provision, where the barb has to be completely pinched down. I think we kind of got into some of that a little bit too, if I recall.
Yep.
Then there's some regulations where it's not necessarily about barbless, but it's just single point. So again, it would be that single hook. Let's just say you were using, like a MEP spinner or inline spinner or something along those lines that traditionally have that, we'll say, traditional 3-pointed triangular. I'm being very specific for you.
Okay, I'm on to you.
Triangular treble hook. You would either need to swap that out for a single hook, or what I know some people do too is they'll just cut the other two. They'll just cut the other two off with cutters or something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
And then so so a treble hook under the recreational fishing rules, and I'm just looking at the notes here, is a hook defined as a single pointed or multi-pointed hook on a common shaft. So that's where things get tricky.
Exactly.
So you would exactly. So it could be, I'll try and sort of demonstrate here, I guess. You could have 3 hooks coming off in the same direction all the way down a common shaft, or you could have your traditional style treble where they're all 3 are at the bottom coming off of a common shaft. The only thing that it doesn't refer to would be like a snagging device or something along those lines, which in most cases are illegal to use anyways.
But that would be called a single hook?
So this is where it's weird because it's on the same shaft. So it's 3 separate points, but on the same initial piece of tackle that would be coming off of your lure or that you're tying onto your line.
Right. Yeah, because this all started because the definition that was given online by an individual was that this particular lake that he was referring to, the regulation was stated that you could only fish with a single barbless hook. And he was holding up a treble hook and saying that this qualified as you can only have one of these on the bait. You can't have more than one of these. And we're saying,
what I would be interested to see is whether it said single point.
Yeah, you know what? We'll have to.
He just said single barbless. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah. He said single barbless, and we just assumed that he didn't know what he was talking about because clearly that was
sniffing
to
glue
us,
that morning.
Exactly. Clearly that was not
whatever gets you going.
No, he was right. I was sniffing. We were sniffing glue
because we were up in arms right as soon as we saw it. We were, whoa.
So I would, and I don't know if there's any way to find out, but I would be curious to know in which particular lake or fisheries management zone it was on, because then we could look back at the rule specifically. Because if it does say single point hook,
no, I didn't.
Then that changes the conversation.
No.
Right.
But here's what's kind of coming out of this whole conversation, though, right, guys? Because we've been talking about this for a little while now. So our new fishing regulations, we print them for 2026. They just came out. So we're kind of getting everything ready for 2027. Any changes that we're going to make for next year, we're starting to bake as we speak. So this is going to be one of those things. I remember when we were sort of talking about this in the first iteration of having me on the show, was we're looking at trying to streamline, clarify, do some things to kind of make our fishing regulations a little bit more understandable, plain English, and try and get rid of some of this stuff, right, where there's ambiguity.
Yeah,
so this
there's
is
no
one
reason.
of those things this is one of those things that hopefully, thanks to being on the show here and getting to hear from listeners and knowing what's going on, that we'll be able to make some changes to and make it much more clear so that it's very understandable for anybody, including us dummies, to be able to figure it out. Right?
I wanted to say you got 3 people here right now on this. And if you count our studio folks, you got arguably 5 or 6 people that are expert anglers and have got experience in fishing and have read the regs religiously year in and year out. And yet we were under a misconception that particular person, who may have been wearing a uniform, by the way, I don't want to say for sure,
he was a guide. He was a guide,
yeah. Said that, you can only use a single barbless hook in this lake, and he's holding a treble hook. And we thought, oh my God, what is this guy talking about? But there's a case. Now apply that to the other 95, 98% of the fishing community out there who doesn't spend the amount of time looking at regs and understanding fisheries. How confused they would be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Well, I think we've got hundreds of years of fishing experience between everybody that's part of this show.
Exactly.
And we had to go back and do some digging.
Yeah.
So
that tells you why it needs to be dumbed down for people like us, so that the regs are clear There's nothing there that I might misinterpret and get myself in trouble for, or worse than that, commit a violation and against conservation, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and I will say, guys, this is one of the things that we sort of said earlier, right? Is that education piece. So let's just say you did bump into a CO out in the bush, and they said, "Hey, you know what? Actually, you're not supposed to be using this." You'd get some grace, right? You'd get some grace.
I would hope so. I
Yeah.
would hope so in a case like that for sure. But anyways,
Especially in that one, because it would be the CEO would understand. He probably thought the same thing as us when he first heard that law. Oh my God, I gotta enforce this law. I didn't even know that. You got to learn that. That's something you have to learn, and it doesn't make a lot of sense at
a
first.
couple of other things you wanted to ask about that 65 year of age.
Yeah, Mike. So when a person turns 65 and they don't need their fishing license anymore. There's a lot of us getting in that area right now. I was always the guy that always bought a sport fishing license so that if I wanted to keep fish, I could keep the limit that was there. Now that you're 65, don't have to pay. Do we have to knock it down to a conservation license, or can we still keep the sporting limit?
So listen, this is a great thing that has been kind of done in the province for a while now, and it's wonderful to be able to have folks not having to always have to consistently pay for fishing licenses after you've been doing it for years. I know a lot of people really appreciate it. We've got those free fishing days as well that I think we talked about last time, where you can get your family out license free. Veterans, service members, folks of that stripe aren't required to have a license in the province either anymore, which is great to be able to celebrate them. And I think you'll be happy to know, Pete, that the sporting license will apply. So you're able to keep those couple of extra fish
Thanks,
to
brother.
feed the family, which
That's
is important.
It's very important now.
to feed the family.
Important to feed the family. I've got a few more years. I'll be 41 in February. So
my God.
I've got a few more years before I need to worry about that.
Few.
You also, though, when you think about it, again, we're talking about the people that would bring up the negatives of it all. They would say, I've been paying for a sporting license my whole life now, and now you're telling me I can't keep that now that I don't have to pay? And then, you know what I mean? You get somebody yelling that and screaming that too, so you probably can't win on that one, but that's good.
Well, and listen, you had the experience this summer where you said, hey, here's my driver's license. I'm sure it was seamless enough that you didn't have to have an outdoors card anymore.
Wasn't a problem whatsoever.
I wonder how many people now keep that in mind, that when you're on the water, in your case, you have to have your driver's license with you now. I know some people don't like to take that out on the water because they don't want to lose it, et cetera, so they will leave it back at.
You have to have your fishing license on your pocket too.
Your fishing license, if you're fishing. If you're not 65 or older,
right? But I'm just saying, you have to have that on you. You're going to get charged.
But you don't. A lot of people think my driver's license is the most, like my health card. Yeah. They're the most valuable things I own.
Yeah, losing your outdoors card or something, whatever.
It's no big deal, right?
If you drop your driver's license down the drink, So
there's a lesson to be learned. If you are 65 or over and now fishing, for free, let's be honest about it, that's what it is. The only obligation that you have is that you must carry, I'm assuming, license, some kind of valid ID with a date.
FAC, I would assume that would work.
Yeah. So there's sort of two methods or a few methods. A valid government identification, which could be a driver's license. It could be a photo ID card that we have in Ontario for folks that don't necessarily have a driver's license.
Perfect.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure whether or not, your PAL or FAC or something like that would qualify. I think it might.
Let me interrupt you right here, Mike. Yeah. Do you remember? So we were at the Billy Bishop Airport.
That's it.
And I forgot my driver's license. I didn't know, or my driver's license expired. And in that sense, so did my health card expired. They wouldn't let me on the plane because I didn't have the proper ID. They were expired. Shit, what am I going to do? And my PAL was there, FAC, whatever it was. And I took it out. I said, it's got my picture on it. Will this do? And they said, yes, sir, that will do.
It will.
No
it's
problem.
federal regulations, right? So you were lucky. You were lucky in that sense.
So
there you go.
Maybe the CEOs would
were we going?
And again, you know what? As long as we can look up your name and date of birth, somehow officially we can generally find you, right? So
where were we going?
Somewhere in the U.S. for sure. I can't remember.
But we were relieved because we were looking.
We were on the way. You gave me the keys to the truck.
Yeah,
Said, drive back. You're staying home.
See you in a week. Did we?
You were going to leave him stuck at the airport.
It's his problem.
No, he said, come pick me back up when I get back. I had to go drive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We recently had an email from a listener about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. And it was an interesting comment. It was actually part of the news story for that particular podcast. And now it takes place south of the border, so no pressure on you, but just kind of your opinion on this as the Minister of Natural Resources. Everybody, by the way, everybody just assumes now that like you are the almighty. Like when it comes to fish and wildlife, like you don't have to go anywhere. You decide what you want and what you don't want. It just, you wake up in the morning and that's what I'm going to do today. And that's what we do.
I want to be him. I want to be him.
Isn't that how politics is run south of the border these days?
That's true.
So the news story, I'll dumb it down for us. Basically, much like in this jurisdiction, we do have certain bodies of water that have special rules, totally different than other areas. And the one that is talked about in this story is the fly fishing only rule. So basically there was a committee put together, a bunch of anglers got together and they're saying, well, okay, but how is that even legal that you can fly fish on a body of water, but I can't go there with my spinning gear and fish? Now we're segregating anglers, for God's sake.
Right, you are, yeah.
And you are, and of course, when we do that, now you're starting to get all kinds of infighting and whatnot. What's your opinion of that? Because I know we have several here in Ontario. The Grand comes to mind. There's
Around
parts of the Grand,
Fergus area, I think,
Yeah.
that we used to be, anyways.
That-
or Arthur area, or something like that.
yeah. That it's fly fishing only. Like what do you think of that?
Yeah, so that's my neck of the woods, guys. I've got some beautiful browns on the upper stretches of the Grand, just down from Bellwood Lake near Fergus, like you said, Pete.
Right.
There's very few areas here in Ontario that would be fly only. But listen, I'm a firm believer of trying to make fishing equitable and accessible for everybody. Not everybody has the expertise to go out there and be able to understand fly patterns and hatches and make the often significant investments into quality fly fishing gear.
Right. Yeah.
And let's be honest, at the end of the day, we all fly fish. I think I've seen you guys fly fish on TV every once in a while. And I certainly love to do it when I have the opportunity, but it's not always easy for everybody to do. And I think that it's important that we do have, like I said, equitable, accessible areas for folks to fish. And if there's regulation changes that need to be made, again, if we're looking at those single point barbless hooks or something along the lines, and I think that's often the argument with fly fishermen in particular, or at least some of those fly only areas, is that you have a better catch and release success rate with fish because you're only using, generally with a fly, it's going to be a single hook, right?
Right.
And often they're a little bit more susceptible to damage certain sort of areas as well. When you're looking at, let's just say, a lot of people traipsing through maybe a more sensitive ecological area, whereas with fly fishing, you're not necessarily going to have maybe as much pressure on that certain water body or that stretch of the river, or whatever it may be. So some interesting things to think about, I guess. But
so it's a way to relieve pressure on certain bodies of water that maybe shouldn't have pressure, and the only way you can do it, you can't say, okay, you're okay to go, the rest of you go on home, you can't fish there, right? So by making it fly fishing only, in this case, you're automatically, and I don't know what those percentages are, but let's just say 2% of anglers have or ever would be predisposed to fly fish. So now you're eliminating it down to 2% of the angling population that can actually fish. Out of those, we know that probably less than 50% will ever be on that body of water to fish. So now you're really cutting down the fishing pressure. If that's the case, I think it just needs to be explained maybe a little more.
And like I said, we here in Ontario, we don't have a lot of those sort of areas specific. We sort of take another approach, and again look at that single barbless or no live bait, for example, would be another one, would be artificials only, or or a single barbless artificial if we really want to get even further down that road. I think the one thing when you look at the US that is a little bit different from a fisheries perspective is they also have a lot of private land. Right. That is where you can actually own a stretch of the river, or you can own a piece of the lake. Whereas here, if it is a navigable waterway, you're able to fish it. So even if the whole river flows through private property, but you can get down the river in a canoe, for example, or a drift boat or something along those lines, you're allowed to fish that river. Whereas in the States, it's a lot of it's very different because the private property in some certain circumstances would be owned by, the lake bed or the riverbed would be actually owned by that landowner as well. It wouldn't be crown land. So there are some different sets of rules and regulations, not to kind of convolute things, but it's certainly not something that we're looking to kind of exploit here in Ontario. I think we're always looking to put our best foot forward when it comes to conservation, but also making sure that we have opportunities for everybody.
Well, what comes to mind are those two clowns during the pandemic. There was a video that went viral in the angling community, those two clowns in Port Hope, because they had shut the river down, but they got this, to Mike's point, they got this grand idea. Hey, they can't stop us from navigating up the river to go fish for those salmon.
They were in the canoe or something?
They were in the canoe, yeah. And the OPP or RCMP, whoever it was, were up on the banks telling them to get the hell out. And they're saying, no, you can't stop it. Yeah. Oh, my God. I laughed so hard. Yeah. I shouldn't have laughed.
Because I remember, I think it was municipal property, right? Or the conservation authority. So they were able to shut down the access from land, but not by sea, if you will.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was just.
Let's just think of those days as a darker period in the past. We're moving forward.
We interrupt this program to bring you a message from Anglers Leaderboard, an AI-powered platform built for today's anglers. Use your phone and the photo measure board to automatically detect length and species, log catches, and track your stats over time. Whether you're fishing solo or joining a regional tournament, ALB helps you stay organized and competitive. Head over to anglersleaderboard.com to learn more and start using ALB today. Mike, we had one more, and it does affect Ange and I in our job, let's just say, is the immediate release laws. Yeah. So when we're out fishing, I'll give you an instance. We were pike fishing on Georgian Bay, and we hooked into a muskie that was 4 days before the season. We decided our audience loves seeing fish, and this fish would have been a gorgeous one to say, hey, everybody, check that out, let's put them back. But it was illegal for us to do that, right? So we left it in there. Is there any play in that rule? Is there, like, I'm not going to say if we break the law, we break the law. But would they change that rule for something like that? People nowadays with their phones out there all the time, they're always taking pictures. They still want to release the fish.
This is one of those things when we talk about kind of interpreting the rules and regulations where there is some room for interpretation, right? What constitutes immediate release? It's hard to determine because if you think about it, if you were taking that fish, let's just say, a good sized muskie, a nice 40-inch fish or something along those lines, out of the water, getting the hook out, quick picture, back in the drink, if you're not properly prepared to be able to handle that fish, which you guys always are when you're out on the water, you're ready for any scenario. But you think of some, young bass angler or something like that now has this fish and it's, you're struggling with your little set of pliers. You don't have anything to open the jaws or anything. You still get the fish back. It survives, but it's probably taken 10 times longer than it would have for you guys to take that quick picture and get it back in the lake. Right. So you've got to have a little bit of room for interpretation. Okay. I don't think it's kind of a cut and dry kind of thing. Now, with that said, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV. But I think the idea is, and I won't necessarily speak for the ministry or our legal department or our enforcement branch here, but I'll just say as an angler, I think it's our duty, unless we're keeping that fish, and even if we are keeping it, we want to dispatch it as quickly as possible so that the fish isn't, going through trials and tribulations and struggles flopping around on the floor of the the boat.
Yep.
But I think the thing is it's incumbent on all of us to release those fish that we're going to be releasing as quickly as possible and with the minimal damage as possible. Grabbing a quick picture, putting it back in the lake, for you guys being able to, have that camera, got such great technology. Now it's not, you remember the huge cameras that you used to have on the boat with you. Now, it's all very handheld, right? It's easy to swing it over the side of the boat. You keep the fish kind of in the water, in your cradle, in your net. Yep. Hey, look, we got a great fish here or whatever. And back she goes for another day. So
I think you said it best. It's incumbent upon us as anglers to use our heads, right? I do believe in some cases there's way too much photography going on.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have a photo of every fish that you've ever caught.
No.
It's ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as putting fish in the bottom of your freezer because it's just a waste. Both of those occasions are a waste. So we as anglers, at some point we have to take responsibility for this stuff. And there shouldn't be a law in place, about immediate release, unless it's a significant milestone, whether it's a personal best or the first of a species, or in a child's case, their first fish. Honestly, today, are we not tired of those pictures? Big smile. Isn't it gone a little too far?
Social media has definitely done that, right?
Oh my God,
for
it's
sure
ridiculous.
Made it going.
You don't have to have every fish on social media.
Some people, I have encountered one person last year that I said, dude, you know what? It was in this early bass season in Zone 20, and I says, you're holding up all these fish for pictures. That's illegal. I says, and you're just going to ruin it for somebody else if somebody ever calls you out. And he says, I don't give a shit. They can charge me if they want. And I just thought, what kind of moronic thought pattern?
But you know what, guys? That's the problem, right? That's the world we live in, and that's why we have to have these rules and regulations in place because, unfortunately, common sense does not always prevail.
Yeah, just a statement like that. So, anyways. And he releases all his fish. I think he's a good angler. I mean, as far as I know, does all the releasing and all that, but just that attitude. Right?
It's a state of mind. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's getting weirder. The older I get, the weirder it is. But anyway, so we won't get into that. Those are my.
There's some other jokes to be.
You got that right, brother.
Those are my problems. Any recap for 2025 for you? Things that you said, "Whoa, I didn't expect that," or pleasant surprises, anything you can share?
I mean, this year, 2025 in particular, I think from a ministry perspective for me was really kind of getting my feet wet. I was appointed about 9 months ago now. And we're fully up to speed. We know all the files. We're pushing through. We're doing a lot of good stuff. I remember when we first sort of chatted last year, you were highlighting a whole bunch of the different things that my ministry has under its purview. And I think a lot of people, sort of forget it's not just say hunting and fishing and forestry, right? So there's a lot of things going on, certainly from in the oil and gas sector here in Ontario. Yes. When we're looking at what's happening with some of the abandoned wells and different things that we have around sort of southwestern Ontario, mostly making some pretty significant headway in dealing with a lot of challenges down there. Commercial fishery is another one. We have one of the largest commercial fisheries in the world. I was actually just down in Windsor, freshwater commercial fisheries. Right. Specific, mostly centered around Lake Erie and Lake Huron. So was just down in Windsor at the Ontario Commercial Fisheries Association's annual conference and had an opportunity to speak down there and meet many of their members and their board and look at sort of fisheries management. And this is where it kind of, dovetails into the recreational side. Lake Erie, again, has had a bang up year for walleye. I don't know if you guys had a chance to get out.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get out, but we heard about it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other species that are starting to suffer because of predation and different things along those lines. Walleyes are voracious feeders. Yeah. Voracious feeders, right? So we're starting to look at how we need to better manage some of the other fish populations in the lake, seeing that the walleye stocks are really up. So been able to learn a lot of really neat stuff over the last little while, and I think really sink my teeth into some policy files, and again the streamlining of those regulations and looking at how we can sort of use plain English to describe what we're trying to get at the point we're trying to get across.
Sure.
And some other really cool stuff's going to be coming online over the next little while. We're in the testing phase of oh my gosh, and my deputy minister is going to get mad at me if I start talking too much about this stuff. But
you got to be. By the way,
I'll get a call after the show airs. But
by the way,
we got some really good stuff coming down the pipe, guys. Really good stuff.
I have been around enough politicians and their staffs to know that you, my friend, are a nightmare for your staff.
Absolutely.
You are a nightmare, but you're a breath of fresh air.
Oh,
for,
God.
for
Thank
us.
God. Yeah.
And that's what we love about you. Much like your father, you don't fit into your prototypical politician's cookie cutter. And that is refreshing. But it's a problem with your staff.
He did admit to answering questions, but not answering full questions or
Well,
whatever he
yeah.
said before. But he's beyond that. We got him out of that.
I'm a master of the non-answer, guys. I'm a master of the but when it's warranted.
Okay.
Before we let you go, that just dawned on me. We haven't asked you on the program before. But for those of you watching and listening, obviously, Mike's father was the Mike Harris, premier of this province for several years. Did you get into politics because of that? Are you like if you're Wayne Gretzky's kid, did you follow your dad's footsteps, or was this something that you woke up one day and said,
what?
I'm going to be one of them?
It is really interesting, and I do get asked this fairly often, just given kind of the family history. And I think when you look at many professions, if your grandparents and your parents were doctors, you're a doctor or a lawyer or a firefighter, policeman, dentist. Could be any of those things. Tradesman, plumber, electrician, right? Often it kind of follows you along, and I think in politics you do see that, right? Yep. Every once in a while. Sure. And so I'll give you a peek behind the curtain. So it's a bit interesting, sort of the trajectory from that perspective. I think I always sort of said, hey, I don't know if I really want to get involved in politics because I've seen it from the inside, and I know what it looks like, and it can be very tough on your family. It can be very tough on you personally, and you really truly do dedicate a lot of time behind the scenes and miss birthdays and anniversaries and different things like that where you're being pulled in multiple other directions. And I sort of said, you know what, I'm gonna sit this out for a little while, and we'll just sort of see how things go. And then I became a family man. We had a few kids at the time, not 5 quite yet, when I had started sort of thinking about this. And then I was a small business owner, and then I started to really kind of pay attention again as to what was going on, and then sort of said on the flip side, hey, now I get why my dad and others get into this profession, and they are sick and tired of the way things are going, and they want to be able to make a difference. They put their name on the ballot. People have the faith in to do it. And then here you are, right? So I was tired of high energy rates. I was tired of every time I turned around, I felt like I was, getting taxed as a small business owner. I saw the way that, that government was making decisions with schools and different things like that were affecting my kids, and, that didn't necessarily maybe align with the way that I wanted my kids to be raised and the upbringing that I want them to have. And I said, you know what, I think it's time. And I had the conversation with my wife. I had the conversation with my dad, and they said, hey, if you're ready to do it, have at her. And here we are almost 8 years later. So,
well, that's a great story.
Fantastic story, man.
Yeah, I love it.
I hate to say this because, as I told you, I know a lot of politicians. I'm friends with a lot of politicians. So I hate saying something like this, but you are very unique, and I won't call you a unicorn, but if you keep up the trajectory that you're on, you may just become that political unicorn. So,
oh my gosh!
So,
and you're gonna bring you. You're gonna be my new hype man when I go out to give speeches. And
keep it up, man. Don't lose touch with who you are and the statement you just made, because I think in the long run it will stand you well, even though your staff might not agree with you. Okay, just so you know.
You're all listening, and I'm going to hear all about this after we're done. So
God love them. Funny. I would not want to have any of their jobs, I'll tell you right now.
Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Angelo. Coming from you, someone who, you've been around, you've seen a lot,
Yeah,
and I really appreciate that. So,
My friend, anytime you have got something to say, please don't wait for us to reach out. We will reach out for sure. But if there's something that comes up within the M&R that you think needs to be discussed on an open mic, just let us know. Have your staff contact us.
see, now it's your fault. You're making more work for them. I'm off the hook on this.
Mike, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And take care through this cold event that we're experiencing for the first time in our history. That may have some profound effect on your job moving forward. This cold and snow might affect fish and wildlife down the road. So
it may. You never know.
Thank you,
All
buddy.
right, guys. Thanks a lot.
See you,
Appreciate
Mike.
you having me
Take
on.
care.
Take care.
Cheers.
It's true, though, and I hate saying that because, as you know, we know a lot of people in the political arena, and and a lot of them are really good politicians.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
There is such a thing as a good politician.
Absolutely.
But in Mike's case, it's just refreshing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very different.
Especially in that portfolio.
Yeah.
It's so important that you have somebody in the M&R that
Absolutely.
that actually gets his hands dirty in the in the outdoors.
Makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
It does, for sure.
Anyways, wonderful having him on the program, and hopefully he'll stay in touch. And
We need to have him on like 2 or 3 times a year at least. You know what I mean?
that is correct. That are it, my friend. I think we went into overtime again. Not that we're getting paid for it, but we will put it out there anyways. I want you all to keep an eye on the various contests on fishingcanada.com. I don't even know what's on there right now. And Dean's busy, so he can't even jump in and let me know. But
I know he's got a new Garmin contest coming up, I believe. He was talking about it, but I'm not sure if
I
it's
am
on
supposed
right now.
to say that they're brought to you by J&B Cycle for some reason.
And Marine.
Right there. Contest announcements brought to you by J&B Cycle. See, I just have the cycle. So you keep.
I think you would know by now.
You think?
They're yeah. I think that between you and Robbie, you've worked out a good naming scheme.
It was nice spending a bit of time with him at the boat show.
It was
recently.
awesome. Yeah, great guy.
Great man. No wonder the company is what it is, because the leader is just a tremendous human being. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll, on behalf of the entire team, I almost forgot, Peter Bowman, Dean Taylor, I'm Angelo Biella. We'll catch you next time. Take care. This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio has been brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Center, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, rent the boat, own the memories. And J&B Cycle and Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment.